Hello and welcome to Engage Asia Cup. This is the qualifiers one, and we have a lot of teams competing today that a lot of people were looking forward to. So I believe a lot of you have actually got the info that a lot of teams were picked up. There are 8 teams total that were picked up by organizations, and out of these 8, True Rippers, Reckoning Esports team, Godlike, SATL are already participating in this tournament, and we have known these teams for so long. Guys, Fu and Spartano, I don't think that you were introduced to a lot of these teams, but in the Indian scene, a lot of these players have been in the community for so long, and a lot of them did deserve to get this opportunity going for the franchise league. Today, we're going to see one of those two teams clash, which is going to be Team Godlike and SATL, the biggest two organizations in India.
Wow.
I mean, well, that's a great intro, Ravish, and that's exactly what I want to hear, right? I know Tano and I are on both sides of the hemisphere, so for him it's the morning and action's going to start for him, and for me it's a good way to end a lovely weekend. But I'm very keen. Thank you so much for having me today. Tano, are you excited as I am today?
Very much so, mate. I love seeing other regions compete, and I absolutely love witnessing India and the Asian region competing, mate. I'm very excited for this one. Really good teams, as you've mentioned, Ravage. A couple have been picked up by some organizations, showing that they are top quality. So this is the kind of tournament you really want to keep a close eye on.
Oh, definitely. This is a kind of tournament where you actually see these teams perform for the first time. After they have went into the organization, there's a lot of expectation that come on the shoulders of these players, because you have expectations from the fans, and you have expectations from your team members, and then from the organization as well. Because, yeah, they're paying you. They want you to perform in these tournaments, right? That's going to happen. And that's why this something like this becomes so important right before the ACL that's coming up. You need to perform in these tournaments. You need to show how good your team is, how good your coordination is. We'll come to a lot of these discussions when the matches are actually over, because a lot of these teams are newly formed. So that's going to be interesting to look at.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I confirm, is it Fearless Draft today, or is it the normal rules?
I'm pretty sure if it's Engage, it's going to be Fearless.
Let's go.
It's going to be Fearless? Okay, that's fantastic. We just need to confirm that, because then, like we always say, it changes it up, right? Especially since the recent patch has changed a lot of these Pokemons, and also bring out some Pokemons we haven't seen in a while, right? For example, just in some of the other Engage events that we've been casting as well, Tano, we've seen Lapras make a resurgence, right? Glaceon is now a little bit more viable. Blissey is now one of the top priors in terms of support, along with Umbreon in that first slot as well. So I'm keen to see whether it continues tonight, right? Whether these teams having a few days now to practice some of these Pokemon and try them out in grassroots tournaments like this one, whether that's going to be the truth, or whether they just realize, yeah, you know what? It's just been, a little bit of a hype session. Maybe, the other Pokemon are still more prior. So that's what I'm going to be keeping my eye on tonight.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing is, we Fearless Draft is you obviously end up having to go to really the end of those pool of Mons when you end up with a best of 3 situation. If you're in a game 3, that is a ridiculously amount of Mons that are banned and you can't pick. So that's why I absolutely love Fearless Draft. It's my favorite way of doing tournaments. And as you mentioned, with the patch and the recent changes, it just means we're going to get even more Mons that you don't expect to see. We've actually been seeing a lot of Clefable, because we see Blissey get banned because of how important it is now. We see Eldegoss getting banned out of there, and a lot of teams are picking up Clefable instead. So it's quite interesting to see that move and how people utilize these bans, especially in a Fearless Draft setting. So this is going to be a very exciting tournament, and I'm excited to see how these teams utilize that draft.
Yeah, sadly,
100%.
this time it's not Fearless.
I think we just got
okay.
Honestly, this might be better, because if I'm correct, the ACL isn't Fearless either, right? Fearless. So perhaps it's more catering to those teams that are looking to get that last bit of practice. Because to my understanding, you guys in this region, you guys start the official tournaments quite early on, right? Other than, because for OCE it's the end of this month, but for you guys it's around next week. Is that correct?
I'm pretty sure it's going to start next
week. Begin? Yeah, so it's crunch time for a lot of these teams. And as you said, a lot of these teams have been picked up by these organizations who have expectations, right, going into the season. And, what better way to really manage everyone's expectations for the first little bit of pressure that comes with tournaments in a grassroots tournament. And then, that way it's not you rock up to day one and it's all the nerves and stuff like that. But as we get into hopefully game number 1 of our clash that we're going to be broadcasting between Godlike and SAUL, I think it's Ravage and I are going to be casting this, so we'll talk to you in a bit, Tano.
Bye, guys. Have an amazing cast.
Obviously, and we will be back with Atano in a while. But before that, this is Godlike versus SATL, the most anticipated two teams clashing together. Ho is the first ban. It's did get its fair share of nerf, but it's still a very dangerous Pokemon to play against. Umbreon, still one of the best defenders in my opinion. One Pokemon I'm looking forward to see after this patch, Fu, is gonna be Azumarill.
I'm keen to see whether Azumarill actually makes its appearance, because from my understanding, the Azumarill, I guess, party doesn't really it isn't really too meta in a lot of this this time that Unite has been around. But it has got its fair bit of buffs on its Whirlpool move, so who knows? What I do know that another blue Pokemon now picked up by like Goblin here is going to be that Blastoise, which is very surprising because Blastoise, we haven't really seen it back in the meta for quite a while, and having the first prior over something like a Blissey, it definitely means that Team Godlike has something up its sleeve. Meanwhile, the other blue counterpart, Lapras, is going to be banned out, which is, like I said, you never really see these Pokemons in the ban jail, for the last few weeks until the patch.
Oh, definitely. And I believe this time the meta is again shifting back to the time where you remember the time where we had all these defenders actually laning in the top lane with Blastoise, with something like Trevenant, Lapras was also there. You need that bulk in the top lane right now because with so much damage, look at Scepter picking up that Mewtwo-Y. Mewtwo-Y just getting buffed with that Blissey. Helping Hand Mewtwo-Y it's devastating for any team to deal with.
Yeah, I can't believe it, Ravage, that they actually let Godlike get away with a Mewtwo-Y and a Blissey combo. Like, if anything, is Mimikyu really the best pick as a prior for your team? But, like I said, these teams probably have some sort of strategy. They probably expect something like a Mewtwo if they're going to be giving up that Blissey. I'm keen to see. This is probably one of the first games I've actually going to see a Blissey Mewtwo-Y combo. So, I mean, in response to that, Team SAUL have actually picked up double defender. We've got a Greedent top path, it seems, a damaged Greedent coming out to play with those double stacking items. And then you have Rex on the Crustle as their main frontline. And you can see it's going to go up against Joy on the Trevenant. So a lot of more meta tanks have now joined the party. But, I mean, this is already different to what we've seen maybe a week ago, right?
Right. One of these Pokemon that we generally ignore in the buff patches is that Greedent did get buffed, right? Greedent got a good amount of damage increase, and definitely one of the winners of this patch was Glaceon. I still believe Glaceon is one of the best Pokemon you can play in the bottom lane. Apart from Mewtwo-Y, obviously Mewtwo-Y is definitely going to be something you need to deal with. But with Glaceon, they have a lot of early game pressure. They have a lot of DPS. Same thing with Greedent. You get to level 5 and you just run around the map. All Might has been playing Greedent in the past, but this is the first time after a long time that I'm seeing a comp like this, where you see a Greedent and a Glaceon with a lot of DPS. This might be a rip comp. They might just go for the Rayquaza in the end. Mimikyu, I'm not really sure because Mimikyu doesn't have that many targets in this game, right? You take Mimikyu when you know you get your Unite off and you get someone out of this game.
Yeah, I mean, one of the benefits is that lockdown Unite move, right? You can, it's just like a Slowbro Unite, take someone out and isolate them away from either securing or doing damage to the rest of your team. But something I really want to see is what moveset this little Squirtle is going to be once they hit that Blastoise, because we heard about how Hydro Pump and Rapid Spin is now maybe the choice for a lot of these top path players, and for that carry damage as well as a little bit of sustain as well. But as we head into the start of this game, our game number 1 between a Godlike Esports and SAUL, this is definitely I guess a clash that everyone is excited to see. Two orgs going up against each other here.
Right. Pretty sure the Blaster is going to be the Rapid Spin one. It has the Muscle Band. It has the Rapid Fire Scarf. So I believe it's going to be... it doesn't have any stack. So that's going to be a problem with any defender that you play in the top lane. Because your attack is not going to stack as much as any all-rounder or an attacker. So that's why we generally run stacks. The special attack specs on any defender that we play in the top lane. However, Blastoise is mainly focused on DPS, so I'm not sure if that's going to affect that much, but the attack is not going to scale in the end. So that's going to be a problem for Godel Goblin in this match. That's what I believe.
Well, let's see. I think they might go the Hydro Pump spin set, which is a really good set to actually stun people like a Glaceon and maybe pop the passive. But we can see 4 members of Godlike Esports have pivoted up in the top part there, leaving the Phantom, trying its best to try to secure as much as possible away from this Glaceon. Now, on paper, both of these teams require a little bit to get online because we only have, a level 4 Crustal that can truly have access to some of its moves. Glaceon needs really 6 to really pop off, right? Blazy choosing that Safeguard is very interesting, but we didn't anticipate it because we have that Mewtwo Y Scepter waiting in the bushes. Once it does have access to its moves, such as the Future Sight, it's going to be able to pop off with its auto attack speed. But we can see Greedent looking like to cause a little bit of trouble in the enemy's central area here, Ravage.
So Greedent is going to play the exact role that something like a Leafeon plays for you. It gets the early game spike, it just roams around the map. It gets a little bit annoying to deal with a Greedent. It has its tools to get out of a fight. It has its tool to actually get into your zone and secure a lot of your farm. That's what we see a lot of good Greedent players do. And All Might has been playing Greedent. He played it a lot when it actually launched. And right now, it looks like it's Greedent's time to shine because but look at the scores. The scores doesn't tell you the whole story because it's almost evenly matched. But look at the positioning of SATL right now. They're about to get their Unite move on the Glaceon. The first knockout actually goes to Goblin here. Mimikyu has been knocked out. Hoopa is facing some problems here. Might not be able to survive. Greedent to the rescue, but that base again actually taking him away from the base and will not be able to finish him off. Yeah, that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, and looking at Greedent choosing the COVID set is not surprising because it does have anti-hindrance, means it can really just run around and ice skate around the enemy. But look at this Regieleki though, just uncontested from Godlike, able to secure that, and for the first bit of pressure coming out of this game and perhaps the siege in that top half there. Meanwhile, it seems like it's going to be the flip of the tables at the bottom as SAUL is looking to secure the basement Regi uncontested and maybe get a few dunks in as well. Yet again, I guess that the Trevenant Joy on the tree is just trying to defend there. It's been left alone for most of this match, but it makes sense, right? Godlike is prioritizing that top path there, and if they can break it, Ravage, that means they can set up a whole lot of pressure going to that Red Closet fight.
Definitely, it was a trade of tiers, it was a trade of objectives. And what we might have noticed, a lot of people have noticed in the map, the Greedent was being really annoying to that Mewtwo. It was actually chasing down the Mewtwo in the jungle, almost brought it down to less than half of his health, and then survived, got out of the enemy's jungle. That's what Greedent is good at, right? Look at the version of Glaceon right now. There might be a fight going on. They're actually both the defenders from the bushes staring down each other. That's going to be a little fun skirmish to watch. But what's happening with Godlike? They're committing a lot in the top lane here. They're committing a lot of people, a lot of firepower in the top lane. And SATL is doing exactly the opposite thing. So it's really fun to see two different teams playing two different strategies all together and actually succeeding. They're trading their tiers here. The scores are almost evenly matched. With all the unites up, Mewtwo Mega was there for a while, but I believe this Regieleki will actually give us a leader in the game.
Yeah, and here comes a little bit of action there as Glaceon pops the Glacial Stage. The play with me going on to the Blastoise is not good enough. If the Hydro Typhoon managed to keep it sustained, and now Mimikyu finds itself in a bad position, getting knocked out instantly by the Mewtwo Y, and the Greedent popping its Unite move by getting knocked out before it can actually jump into the berry basket there. And, for a moment there, it seems like SAUL had a chance to maybe push the pad, but yet again, it is now left up to the Hooper to go unbound, to try to bring its teammate in to flip this Regieleki. The Hooper actually manages to save them from more pressure in that top part there, and this might be the tide turn that they're looking for. Regieleki does go in, popping in that, I think, 8 overdunk, and for once, thank God the Hooper was there, Ravage. If not, it could have been a really bad news for Godlike. Since that they can probably push that top path there with that Regieleki behind. I mean, all shout-outs to the support players, right? Really, behind every good team is a great support player.
Oh, definitely. Supports and defend are the backbone of any team. If you have a good supporter or a good defender, you know you're gonna win that engagement for yourself. And that's exactly what QDM did for Soul right now. secured the Regieleki by himself, did not rely on anyone else to actually come to the fight there, secured the Regieleki. But definitely the scores are in the favor of Godlike Esports still, and another skirmish is gonna break out in the bottom lane. With the Unite move on the Glaceon, this can turn into something big. Blasters unites again, secures the Regis there. Again, two Regis in the same game, a little bit interesting, because you would like to see something like Reggie Rock or Reggie Steam to actually give them the defense buff or the attack buff. The Unites are going off. Mimikyu still has his Unite, has the time. Blissey actually unites a Blaziken here, but nothing actually came out of that Blissey Unite.
Yeah. Zero value Unite there, and it looks like Glaceon is going to go down to Mimikyu anyway. That's a KO streak of 2 for it, so definitely getting its levels. Obviously, the score is very, very close, and so are the levels as well, but not having a Blissey Unite for that start of the Rayquaza could mean that SAUL takes the chance and start that team fight at the start. I'm also interested to see why Scepter actually chose Side Strike at its move, because we do know that the other future side move is really, really good with that helping hand as well. I mean, these players, like I said, probably have some sort of strategy, some sort of way to play it. The benefit of a Side Strike is that you can avoid a lot of that CC coming out from SAUL. But here comes the spin to win once again. But yet again, the Kyurem on the portal is just so well timed to make sure the Mimikyu can have a way out, just in case the Blastoise decides to spin a little bit longer than usual. We have the spears running through from the Glaceon, getting that top of Regieleki. And it's not a situation we actually anticipated, is it? Because now, for once, it seems like SAUL have really crawled their way back into this fight, with the Rayquaza coming in 25 seconds Ravage. Who knows who takes this game number 1? But for now, it is very, very close, and I can't wait to see how these teams play it.
Right, and definitely the cards are looking in the favor of SHL right now. They have the information that 2 players are defending that Regieleki. They know where 2 of their main DPS is coming from. They can position themselves in the pit for that. Kyurem actually starting the engagement. Blastoise Rapid Spin going off, but not doing that much damage. It's on cooldown right now, and everyone has their Unite up. Blissey has their Unite up. But looking at the positioning right now, levels are in the favor of Godlike here, but a lot of damage is coming from the Glaceon. The fight actually is not starting. Everyone is doing a lot of chip damage, and this getting off that Blissey not having heals might hinder them a little bit here in the final round. But then again, the final fight will not be decided by just one Pokemon. It's gonna be a team fight, and whoever starts this team fight will definitely have an advantage here.
Yeah, let's see. As Super brings that Glaceon back, that Glaceon needs to be careful before it comes back. The Crustle there, just to make sure it protects the President there. We know how good the Spears are in poking teams out. Look at the Blastoise trying to spin away from the Spears, but they just come non-stop. Trevenant finding a flank though, but luckily the passive on Glaceon able to keep it sustained and away from any trouble there. As we have a little bit of engage, a first KO on the Mimikyu means that for once Godlike has the advantage here. Trevenant uses Unite to stun 3 members of the team as the spin continues. Bliss Unite going on to the Trevenant to make sure that it can stay in and isolate more members as the Blazing is going to go through. But actually, it is so low now as the Spears knock out another one. It seems 2 KO streak for Glaceon means it is going to be a 3v3 scenario. And the Glaceon is just saying, let's just rip this Rayquaza because Trevenant is now zoned out of there. But Blaziken is coming though. Can it be the insurance policy that Godlike is needed? Rayquaza is probably on half HP. Hoopa staying very close to the Glaceon just in case it needs a portal as the Blaziken ejects away. Kicks too early, but it doesn't matter because the Crustle is here to make sure that they have the secure, and SAUL taking the first across of tonight's match against Godlike Esports. I mean, the score is still very, very close, but with 4 people with Shield Ravage, I mean, this is a sight to see as the 100th will come flying in for them and securing them that game number 1 in today's round 2 match.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, the overheat was not timed as well as it should have been, because it's very hard to secure from an overheat. And out of all the Pokemons on the field who could have secured the Rayquaza, it was a Crustle in the end who actually went up there, and with, I believe it was X-Scissor that secured Rayquaza, which is not something you want to see if you're in favor of Godlike Esports right now. A very off-time overheat, I would say. It could have been timed better. There was a lot of DPS coming from Glaceon as well, so you could have timed that better. But anyways, this was just the first game of tonight. A lot more is going to come. It's not all over for Godlike Esports. It's not Fearless Draft. You can draft again. And as I was saying, For Snowy, the game looked a little tough. As Mimikyu, you need some of those low HP targets so you can actually get your Unite move, some value for your team. But that was not coming. If you unite something like a Blaster, is not gonna die from your unite move. Same thing with Mewtwo. Mewtwo has a lot of HP. It can actually survive your unite move. And I did not feel a lot of value came from the Mimikyu. It did went down early in the team fight as well. So that should be something that SL12 should be looking to they need to pick a different jungler for the next match. That's what I feel like. I did not feel Mimikyu was enough value for them.
Well, it doesn't matter because they did lock themselves into that game number 1, so now they are ahead, aren't they? And obviously, it does definitely feels good going into the second match, especially since it's not fearless, so they have the choice to run it back if they do want to. I do agree with you to some extent that Mimikyu may not have the impact that it needs, but I think one of the benefits of Mimikyu is even if you're not doing that damage, you're able to protect something like a Glaceon, because if anyone comes close to it, you do have that play with me Unite move to shut them down. But as we look at the replay, the Blaziken unfortunately has ejected and used its Blaze Kick a little bit too early there with his overheat combo, and that really gives space for anybody. And obviously in this case it was Rex on the Crustal coming in for the secure there, but just anyone on SAUL probably could have secured that. And it's a little bit sad to see as well, Scepter, not only picking up the Mewtwo Y, but not able to do the damage that we expected with the Blissey assistance there. And that's just the way it goes. And maybe it's nerves, maybe it's just the game one bit rusty at the start. I'm sure once these players warm up, they're going to have a better performance there. But we can tell how close these two teams were fighting out. A lot of the times, instead of just pure engaging for the fun of fighting, they were actually thinking about soaking up the experience on their side. They thought about rotating in a way to have some advantage. But Godlike came out flying Ravage, but then that Kyurem secure on the Regieleki really just marks the turning point for that game. And from that on, it seems like a lot of the objectives went on the side of SAUL. And, ultimately, Rayquaza was also secured by them. And so, all's not lost for Godlike. They can still have a chance to come back. And I do hope they go to that Game 3 scenario. But for once, it shows a little bit more experience on the side of SAUL. They were patient and not just rushing to fights, even though they were behind in the start of the game.
This is where experience actually shows. SL has been playing together for so long. This godlike lineup that I'm looking at, it hasn't been together for a long time. It's made like a month or two ago. So there has been some coordination issues, and definitely with Helping Hand Blissey, that's not the amount of damage you want to see on a Mewtwo Y. 35,000 on Mewtwo Y, you're lacking something. Maybe it was the moveset that you pointed out earlier. Maybe it was the positioning for that Mewtwo. It was bullied by Greedent a lot in the game. But then again, it's always good to see two teams actually playing two different strategies altogether, where one is going for pure DPS and protect the precedent kind of composition, while the other is going for a complete tank composition. So that's definitely good to see. Joystick now opting for that Blasters. That's gonna be the defender joystick. Godel joystick, Godel Joy, he's right now. So he does generally plays defender. He's a good defender in the community. So I'm not sure if he's gonna play the Blasters specifically. They might change it later, but as a defender, you definitely have better options than Blasters right now.
Yeah, the great thing about Blastoise is it can be a flex pick, right? It's just like Trevenant as well.
Right.
You can play in the top path or as the traditional defender as well. Now, something very interesting and I think very smart coming out from SAUL is picking off that Blissey now away from Godlike. So they don't have the choice of going that Blissey Mewtwo combo. And obviously Crustal, Rex, did so well last game to secure that Rayquaza. Picked up once again. But, on paper, SAUL doesn't really show too much with this combo. It allows them to have a lot of flexibility and a lot of, space to think about how to counter the Pokemons coming out from Godlike. And Godlike has revealed they're going to go for a Glaceon from Spectre. So take one, you take our Pokemon, we take yours is exactly what Spectre is really showing us at the moment. They have now taken what obviously as the one of the main attackers from SAUL last game. And in response, we see Mimikyu make a comeback from what you said before, and All Might picking up that Machamp now, which is very interesting.
Right, Machamp is one of my favorite Pokemons from this patch, to be specific. It has a lot of utility. It has a lot of movement. mobility to be precise, if we consider some of the all-rounders. So it has that dynamic punch which can actually make sure that you actually get out of fights. Close combat is really good, and if your Unite connects with a good chunk of people, it does a lot of damage, it does a lot of shove. It's a great Unite to get your team in position to start the engage for the fight. Batra going for that Miraidon. I'm loving this team comp from SATUL. You have that range, you have that DPS, you have a Pokemon that can actually go for flanks, that can actually offlane for your team, and you have a Mimikyu that can actually shut down their main DPS. This is a comp that I was waiting for to come from SATUL. It's looking like a very good comp, a very complete comp in my opinion. On the other hand, Godlike again going for the meta picks. Yes, these Pokemon are good. You're going for a Defender Blastoise, which I'm not sure if it's the right option. In my personal opinion, I still feel Trevenant is still one of the best defenders that you can pick.
Well, I think to play the devil's advocate here, I think Joy picking up the Blastoise as the defender tank could help the early game a little bit. If you think about Phantom, the security is not as good as something a Squirtle can provide, especially Scepter as a Glaceon going out to that bottom path. You need someone to actually help you secure the farm, because Glaceon isn't like other evolutions, right? It is still quite useless until that level 6 when you have unlocking that Ice Shard to really complement the Icicle Spears that you do have. But what is really interesting is the Serena being picked up by Goblin here. Serena has recently been changed yet again in the patch, allowing you to unite anybody regardless if they're unstoppable or not. And that's a great counter to something like a Machamp that could be unstoppable using its submission move, a Mimikyu that could be unstoppable by uniting somebody else, and it can really give you an option, right, whether you want to help your teammate or go for the offense. But we're going to start this game number 2 off. I mean, this is an important one for Godlike, isn't it, this game?
Oh, definitely. It's go big or go home for Godlike. You have to actually step up your game here. You want that Glaceon to come online early, deal a lot of damage, because it's the only Pokemon that can match the range that Miraidon has here. If Miraidon starts, gets its level spike earlier, if it gets going, the going will get tough for Godlike Esports here. So you need to shut down that Miraidon as early as possible. It's gonna deal a lot of damage from the back lane. It has a lot of ability. Its Unite move is pretty threatening. The ability it has with that Hadron engine is gonna deal a lot of damage, so you need to make sure you shut down that Miraidon as soon as possible. But looking at Godlike's comp here, I think they might need to commit on the top lane once again. You need that Serena to actually win this early engagement with that Machamp, because Machamp, again, it's again the same thing with Soul Esports, right? You have so many hero comps here. The Machamp can go crazy in this game, the Miraidon can go crazy in this game. Miraidon actually taking down the Blastoise can be big. It's a push coming in the bottom lane as well, so both lane pressures by both the teams, and Soul Esports looking really good here as against Godlike. Godlike needs to step up the game. It's gonna be a submission Machamp, which is interesting because I was expecting something like Dynamic Punch, but submission is great to chase down something like a Glaceon that loves to deal damage and get away.
It's just a trade-off there. It seems like SAO has actually opted to ambush that bottom path there. It looks like they're gonna extend the offense in the enemy central area there. Mimikyu already having that level 7 means that it has access to that Shadow Sneak, and it's making full use of it at the moment. They got 2 KOs down the bottom there. Obviously, the trade-off is that Machoke needs a little bit more, I guess, time in the top half there. They are obviously having that ambush from the enemy team. They're going to be a little bit behind. But SAUL just prioritizing a different lane, which is very interesting. It's unconventional indeed, but it does give them the benefit of having a quite significantly large level lead in that bottom path Pokemon, making it a little bit easier against this Glaceon. Meanwhile, Joy just finding its evolution now as Wartortle as we head into that 720 birds here for a little bit more experience here, Ravage.
Right, so this is what I generally say, that score does not tell the whole story. You look at the levels. If your Blastoise is hitting level 5 so late in the game, that means you are not in control of the lane. Blaziken actually finally getting that Mimikyu out of the game is big. Machamp is holding down that lane alone. He might not be able to survive that that encounter there. Blaziken is already level 8, has his Unite move. Miraidon has started to burn down the Regirock here. Finally something else than the Regice. I was tired of seeing Regice in the bottom lane again and again. Regirock, again, a good objective that you want to commit on. The entire Godlike Esports, again, they're going on the completely different lanes here. Godlike Esports is completely taking control of the top part, but then again, you have a Machamp there who might be able to get this Unite, might not be able to get its Unite. We'll have to wait and see. It's going to get a push from Godlike Esports in the top lane with the defense buff from Regirock. The team might be able to survive here. Eject Overheat, again misses his target. Serena goes in. It's gonna be a good fight here. Miraidon dealing a lot of damage from the back lane. It's gonna be a little bit tough for Serena to get out of there. Mimic actually taking down their supporter there. Healer Eldegoss goes down. Godlike Esports will need to retreat for now. Blastoise might get caught a little bit, but nothing serious here.
Yeah, I mean, the kind of push was gone by the time the charge beam came out from the Miraidon. That's something great about Miraidon, right? It definitely outranges that Glaceon. And what a fantastic last pick for their draft. Oh, but we have a lock-on by the Mimikyu, but Playrough gets tanked by the Blaziken. And what a fantastic way to help out your teammate as a Bliss assistant going through assisting their team. This Mimikyu might be a little bit low though, but Playrough will be able to knock out Glaceon. And here comes more. Can you streak of 2? Once a Mimikyu gets its reset, it just never ends, it seems. But Mimikyu surviving on 1 HP, gets grabbed in. Oh my god, it continues there with the submission coming through to stop the Serena from getting that KO. That is so much benefit, so much experience for this Mimikyu on the side of SAUL there. What a great fight for them. And it looks like they want more as they pivot up to that top pad there, as this Crustle and Miraidon is going to quickly protect Joy from doing any damage to it.
This is what I was talking about, right? You need a target, something like a Glaceon, for that Mimikyu to actually pop off. It did a lot of damage, it took a lot of damage, and as soon as it locked on with that Shadow Sneak on that Glaceon, the time for Glaceon was completely over. It had no chance of escaping that. A great engage win from SATL Esports, getting that experience into their favor. Level 12 Mimikyu already, it's only been half the game right now. Half the game is still remaining. This might be a level 14 Mimikyu. We might be looking at a level 14 Mimikyu at the end of the game. Again, Godlike Esports completely committing on the top lane. Machamp has his Unite, so it might be interesting to see if they actually unite something to keep them off their tier 2. But it's not going to be a push. 2 people defending Regieleki, they might let it touch actually. No, Machamp is actually holding it on. And again, it's going to be a good push in the bottom lane, but SA12 is completely ready on that bottom lane. No one has taken any tier 1s in the bottom lane, which is interesting. Soul has lost their tier 1 on the top lane, but that is something you want when you have an offlane Pokemon. You want that experience for them because they're not engaging in the fights as much as bottom lane Pokemon, right?
Interesting the fact that they continue to do the Regieleki but not committing to a push, because they are now getting a little bit of pressure now in the bottom path by SAUL there. Blissey looking to dunk an 8 before the Glacial Spears will go through. Iframes it completely, but what a huge serve. Hydro Pump will bait out the Meteor Shower though. Joy having their Unite move still ready to go just in case the decision is to push the pad there. But a serve to isolate this Crustle means that Crustle has to eject using his Rubble Rouser to stay sustained and maybe isolate one of the teammates as the spears will rain down once again. I just think that move is ridiculous coming out of Glaceon there. But yet again, you know, no one really wins from these fights unless they are able to get some scores in. Machamp able to break that top with the Mimikyu means the scores are a little bit more in the favor of SAUL there. Both teams wanting this bot tier 1 so badly because they know, you know, the amount of healing you get, the amount of positioning you can have going to that Rayquaza fight, having a safe spot to go close to your lanes is so important, right? And then as the third Regieleki will spawn on the map here, both teams have tier 2 pads, and I don't know whether both teams will actually want this tier Regieleki. So let's see what happens as this Blastoise is trying to serve their farm onto their side, Ravage. Not a lot of time now to make a decision, but it'll be interesting to see which one this team actually will prioritize.
Right, and also take notice of that SA2 will actually lost the tier 1 very early in the top lane, but Machamp is the one who's at level 13 and Serena is still stuck at level 11. So that's what you want if you want an offlane Pokemon. You want your tier 1 to actually go down early, so your offlane Pokemon, your top laner actually gets a lot of XP. By the time you actually break their top lane, you have a level 13 top laner who's gonna dunk another 50, giving you the score advantage. Your Eldegoss goes down. He will not be available in the start of that Rayquaza fight. Essentville is looking in complete control of the game right now. It doesn't show up in the form of scores. 100 goes in from the Machamp, now it does. But in the terms of level and in terms of gameplay, right now SA12 is actually looking at a completely different level. They have this game under control. Glacier actually closed down. The Unite move from Mimikyu, it's not gonna take out any more chaos, but the fight has started.
Oh my
Hydro Typhoon from the Blastoise, Blissey Unite, and again, the Blissey Unite does not actually pay off that much in this fight.
Yeah, Glaceon getting knocked out early was so detrimental to them, especially after using his Unite move. So we do have still Serena's Unite move as the remaining Unite move, going back against 2 from SAUL though. So SAUL still has the advantage, not only by the score, by the fact that they have just more firepower on the back. And speaking of just firepower, look at the charge beam, the poke it provides there. Blastwave coming in, does not connect to Marano, unfortunately has to quickly go out. No Hydro Typhoons remaining, but here comes the Meteor Shower though. Will be able to knock out Glaceon once again, sent back to the home pad there, and it's up to Serena to really make a difference as it picks up the Miraidon though with its Unite move. The Queenly Majesty will come through but gets instantly isolated by the Machamp and also the Crosto, and that's a KO streak of 4 for them. An absolute team wipe. SAUL transcending the mortal realm to defeat something like a godlike esports there, taking home, it seems like, game number 2 with the Rayquaza in the bag. Another 60 coming out from Badshar as well. I mean, what a fiery end to this clash. Like, it's going to be SAUL to come up on top.
Definitely, it's gonna be time for SA12 to move in the top bracket. It's not all over for Godlike Esports, to be really honest. They still have the lower bracket, but the level of gameplay that SA12 has shown, that's what I've been pointing out since the first match of the series, that you do not see the entire game in terms of scores. The level of gameplay, the level of thinking, the level of positioning that SA12 had, the level of control that they have this entire game. They knew exactly what they were doing, and Godlike Esports were just responding to what SA12 was doing. It's very hard to actually pinpoint where you are winning and where you're losing when you look at the scores, but when you look at how a team is engaging, when you look at how they're targeting the other players, that's when you know that the other team is in control.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just you can tell from this game, SAUL were just way more aggressive in that early game as well. And there wasn't a lot of windows for Godlike to actually come into it. And obviously on paper, their draft needed a little bit more time to really come online. They were more of a scalar comp there with the Blaziken and the Serena on the team. But at the end of the day, Serena left alone only with its Unite move, not able to really 1v4 there, going up against something like a Machamp and a Crustal Stun as well. But yet again, I think Miraidon was just such a great last pick for them, knowing that Team Godlike has really locked in their attacker, and the attacker not having the range that Charge Beam provides means that a lot of the times this Blastoise is finding it really hard to actually connect onto the backliners, because before he can even get there with its Surf, it's getting half its HP chunked by something like a Charge Beam.
Right, and to be really honest, I will say that Godlike Esports did really well against a well-settled team like SA12, because this team that Godlike Esports is right now, Fura, Scepter, Goblin, Artist, and Joy, I don't think we have seen this specific 5 in a competition before. So it looks like a new team. They need time to adjust. And for the first match, you're going against something like SA12 Esports, who is a well-settled team. They know each other. They have been coordinating so much with each other. It's going to take them time to actually adjust. With this lineup, they need some time, and well played Godlike Esports, but they still need time to actually get into this game right now.
Yeah, and you know, what a better person to bring in to provide a bit of insight on their view on what happened is Tana. Let's bring back Tana to see what he thought about this game and this set in general. I mean, this is our first clash we got to broadcast tonight, Godlike Esports against SAUL Esports. And, you know, I love the fact that it's org against org, because it is just a great way to introduce everyone into the enthusiasm that India region brings, right? Having all these orgs very keen to bring in teams and, you know, fighting it out for who will take the crown next season there. Tana, what did you think about that set and that match?
Yeah, 100%, buddy. And watching it in the background, I feel like Godlike Esports are probably going to be a bit frustrated with the first game, because they honestly looked like they were in control of majority of that game until we hit that Rayquaza battle. So First thing I want to know is there was a Clefable ban from Godlike Esports in both of those games, and I wasn't quite sure why, because it didn't seem like there was anyone on SEA UL Esports that were really picking up anything that had a worry when it came to a Clefable ban. So I wasn't quite sure about that one. I felt like there was more that they could ban. There was definitely stuff that the team was struggling to handle in the second game that was also in that first game, but as we have a look, Godlike had a quick early game. They rotated 4 top, and Blaziken was online at 740, which is so massive for an all-rounder like Blaziken. Getting that thing to that level that early is just a great shout by them. Trevenant was let them break the bottom pad as well, opening up the experience for Mewtwo to grab that ultimate at about 630. They felt like they were lacking a bit on that bottom lane, so I liked that decision from Trevenant, and I feel like there were some good decisions coming in from Godlike across the entirety of the game. It felt like they were in control of it. I mean, Blastoise's Hydro Typhoon, they were 4 of them in the game there, Fear and Ravage. They got at least 1 KO or a secure with every time they Hydro Typhooned. It was so important at the zone in was that Blastoise. It was fantastic, but the difficulty was they came down to the Rayquaza battle, and Godlike just did not have an answer for the poke that was coming from that Glaceon. It was forcing people to go home and heal because of the damage it was dropping. They didn't really have that core healer that could keep them up that often. It just meant that they were taking fights that were probably 3v5, 4v5 at times because that poke from Glaceon was just way too strong. It didn't look like Seoul Esports had that much of a rip onto the Rayquaza, even though they had that Blaziken, that Glaceon, sorry, because the Blaziken came back, but the Crustle managed to lock in that secure because X-Scissor is just incredibly good for Crustle. I love it on that Mon. So it was really well played by Godlike in game 1, but SEA Esports just managed to really lock in that Rayquaza battle. It was really important for them. But then we come into game 2, and it was kind of more of a switch around, to be honest. Yet again, Blaziken was up very early for Godlike. They'd managed to get it at about the 730 mark, so that was really working. But as you commented, Ravage, it was difficult for that Serena to get the levels. I think despite the fact that Godlike put a lot of pressure in the top lane, like they usually do, it was too easy for the Machamp to really get cooking. So huge shout out to Seoul Esports and Godlike. Really well played game. But you're going to go into this next round. I believe we're doing losers bracket round 1. So I'm going to hand it back over to you guys, I think.
Just confirming with production who will be casting this, but we do have a losers round 1 as Tano mentioned there. So, like Ravi said before, it's not over yet for a lot of these teams. They do have another chance to get back in, and all these losers are going to be BO3, so more chances to really secure maybe another second ticket back into the grand finals if possible. But just looking at the bans here, very different to what we saw before: Mimikyu, Mewtwo, Leafeon, and Miraidon.
Yeah, really interesting, mate. I mean, Miraidon is going to be the one that continues to get a ban. I think it's just ridiculously good. Mimikyu has been really strong. Mewtwo Y is really coming into its own with the recent patch changes as well. We're seeing a lot more of that. And as I mentioned, seeing a lot more of them on. We pick up the Lapras that we've talked about through. It is definitely a fan favorite now that those patches have made it a lot more viable.
Yeah, absolutely. And, yet another org now showing up in this matchup. We have Reckoning Esports against True Rippers here. Hooper's now picked up quite a lot actually tonight, but we do have that Lapras, like you said, picked up by Dope. And in response, we have the core 3 for Reckoning Esports as Glaceon, Umbreon, and Blaziken here. I feel like this region, one of the bread and butter is that Umbreon and Blaziken. They love picking that. But it's cool to see something like a Glaceon make its comeback into the meta as well. Kale on that Mew now with Bora on that Ceruledge, which, obviously has been a little bit nerfed in the recent patch, but from what I've heard from a lot of players, especially in the OC region, it still feels like it wasn't nerfed at all.
Yeah, Ceruledge is still in a very good position in this game. The thing is, they didn't touch the Unite move through, and that is the most important thing on that Ceruledge, really. Revenant Rend is just so important, and it's so good for triggering those team fights that, until you touch that, I think Ceruledge is going to be really strong. But they did a lot to Blastoise, and we've already seen Blastoise in the previous set, and I honestly think it is very much up there with that Lapras, with that Umbreon. The Spin Toys worked really well. Also, Surf, it's got fantastic CC, and still has one of the best Unite moves in the game with that Hydro Typhoon.
Yeah, absolutely. And they used it to absolute mastery last game from the team that used it. So, with a Blissey as well, whether it goes that Safeguard or Helping Hand set, it has the freedom too, because we have Sora on the Umbreon, right? Umbreon has access to a move that actually heals. So, you know, you can either go double eggs, heal with Wish, or you can just start with Helping Hand Safeguard to make sure this Blaziken has an easier time against something like an Ice Beam or even the Machamp Submission, depending on which one they want. Now, that is a very interesting Machamp build, Tano. I don't know if I've ever seen a Machamp build running double. Oh, there we go. We had to switch to the attack weight. I was going to say, we can have a lot of punches in quick succession, but I feel like attack weight is probably going to be the better option there.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm surprised at the amount of Machamp that we're seeing, Fu. I'm on board with it. I love it. Machamp is one of my favorite mons in this game as well, but it's whether it can really get going, because I feel like it can be limited in that top lane at the moment. I've seen a lot of teams taking it jungle just because it gets it early and it really gives it the utilization it needs to really get going in a game. But it did work last set, so let's see what they can do here. They really do just need to make sure that they can get those evos early enough for that Machamp.
Absolutely. So as we head into game number 1 between Reckoning Esports against True Rippers, this is the last chance, right? If they win this set, they will progress into the losers. If not, they will be out of today's qualifiers for the Asia Cup. Now, something more interesting is Kale opting for the XP share so that Dobe gets most of those XP and get that level 5 and become, you know, the damaged Lapras that we all love to see. Meanwhile, we have Reckoning Esports going out and actually trading in terms of the home, I guess, neutral farms there to allow both teams to get a few stacks in. And look at this Lapras. Dobe not really contested on any of this farm, and I don't know whether this is going to be a good decision for Reckoning Esports, because once this Lapras gets those special attack specs up, Ravage, I mean, that's a whole lot of damage coming out from Ice Beam.
Yeah, it is. It's a difficult situation. They have managed to get Glaceon up nice and early, but it's so rare to see that kind of handshake action. I felt like we were back in Season 1 when everyone was running Lucario top lane, buddy. But Umbreon is getting a bit risky here. They are up against that Machop, and they do have a lot of damage that can come on in, but Ceruledge comes up to help clean up that Umbreon. Really good play from True Rippers. Having Ceruledge here this early is going to be really difficult for them to handle, but when you've got that CC and Glaceon in the backline, you can at least do something to it, but it wasn't able to do enough. So now they're going to hop onto these birds, and we're going to see True Rippers grabbing the majority of those, and Ceruledge showing just how it doesn't matter if you nerf it, buddy. It is still going to be a dominant mon in this game. We've got pressure coming on in from RGE. They've managed to get 2 KOs though from that Ceruledge, and they do go down. That's going to be huge for that War Turtle.
Yeah, I mean, you never really see Squirtle having that much of an impact, but that water gun stunning the Ceruledge outside of the portal, making sure that it does go down, means that it will hit that level 6 now. What a way to come back and get 2 levels instantly, right? Meanwhile, on the bottom part here, we have 3 members of Reckoning Esports now pivoting down there. The middle birds will be coming up in about 3 seconds, Tano, and there are going to be more numbers from Reckoning Esports here, maybe soaking up this farm beforehand, but Ceruledge will be able to get the big one, which means that they have equalized the experience that they get. But Blaziken is now fully online, though, probably having an easier time. No jokes, the submission Machamp will go through and wipe the smile out from its face. Ceruledge picking another 2 off. I mean, Bora is just having so much fun now, right? It is close to this Unite move, and as we discussed before, that Unite move still is such a hit from anybody that gets inside the way, you know, with its ability to do mass amount of damage instantly.
Yeah, and I gotta say, mate, they may be called RGE over on the other side, but it's Machamp throwing down the RKOs onto anyone at submissions, slamming them. It was really huge, was that there? But we're gonna have some pressure put on to this T1 pad from Reckoning Esports here. They do have the numbers, but it is a Mew, and defending that is gonna be difficult to do with how maneuverable that one is, especially when you pair it with that Lapras. But top lane, a lot of pressure coming in from True Rippers. They've got that Hooper to provide the rotations, so they can do just that. Leave the Machamp up here to get those early levels. It needs to get that Unite move. A massive overheat coming in from that Blaziken. Can the Ceruledge clean on up though? Yes, it can. 2 KO. They try and take down the Blaziken. It's going to be the thing that defends this pad so well, but the Blastoise coming in with that spin as well. Lapras is going to go down, or they're going to get very close to it. Hooper with a huge hit with the CC to protect them. It was going to be an effort, but they take down the Registeel over on the side of True Rippers. This Ceruledge is really beginning to demand these lanes right now.
Yeah, and move choice, I think, by a couple of members here. We have Ceruledge on the flame charge, which you don't really quite see in a lot of these comp matches, and Actually, Dome opting go for the Bubble Beam and Water Pulse, which I'm really surprised as well, considering how tanky Reckoning Esports is. And Perisong normally the choice of most Labrases that are stacking as well. But we have another push by Reckoning up top, though. Maybe a little bit of a siege going on with the spin to win, doing a lot of damage. But the Barrage Blow is going to quickly knock out the Blastoise, shutting it down, getting another KO on the Glacium as well. And what a insanely quick flip of this fight, as 5 members rather, of True Rippers have now ripped through Reckoning Esports and now taken that top hat as well. And looks like this top Regieleki might be uncontested here. There's not a lot Reckoning can do to even make it close to this Regieleki right now.
No, and I've got to say, it feels like the second any fight breaks out, True Rippers are just swarming up to provide assistance to their teammates, and it's really making these team fights go the way of True Rippers at the moment. They're picking up some huge selections on who to take out of Reckoning Esports early. We've seen the champ do it on that Blastoise, and we're going to see a push onto this pad with the Lecky. We've got the rings let loose. There comes the Revenant Rend. The Hydro Typhoon, though, stops themselves getting hit, but that Ceruledge is in the backline. It takes down the Blaziken, and then they use the portal to hop on back to the pad, buddy. 2 KO for Ceruledge. They're going to hop onto the Blissey. That's going to be a clean up for True Rippers. They're going to score plenty of points into this goal, and they're actually going to break it. 306 to 83 right now. This is True Rippers all the way.
Oh, absolutely. And I think what is the real, I guess, benefit from it is only Hooper going down in that entire fight. The Blissey obviously doing a great job to actually take out the Regieleki, meaning that they needed some time to score it in. But here comes maybe a counter push from a Reckoning Esports. They're just trying to get any dunks in the moment to break that top pad and maybe equalize some sort of pressure coming out from that top side there. But yet again, when you're going up against a team with Hooper Tano, the main thing you want to do is try to break these pads ASAP, regardless of your overdunk. Because if not, Hooper can just send members in and out, and I think that's exactly what they've been doing. And the reason why it seems like True Rippers are just everywhere, swarming at any occasion that there's a fight.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I love the decision from the champ just to let them break it. They get the extra XP in that top lane. It wasn't much of an overcap. Great decision from them, and they're still going to be able to hop on down here. They do have the option of using Unite Moves at the 4-minute mark. They've got that barrage that they can come on with. We just need to see where this rip is going, because it seems like Reckoning Esports do have the advantage down here. Some good zoning coming out from the Umbreon. There's the Hydro Typhoon. It's a little bit too late, though, to do anything over on the side of True Rippers. That Regice is going their way, and it is going to be the rings let loose from that Hooper, but they just can't do enough here, Fu. Unfortunately, some good beams coming in from that Mew, but there comes out the damage from Ceruledge. Blastoise was there to answer, taking down that KO, and it's going to be Reckoning Esports that are going to put the pressure and take this T1 pad. As you mentioned, though, that's what they want to do. Hooper is up. They need to break this pad to make sure that they can't get those rotations. They're no longer able to do it. A nice barrage coming in from the Machamp, but it doesn't do enough to connect or pick up a single KO. That was a huge bit of damage coming in from Reckoning Esports. Good lock-in on the objective, taking that pad. Great set of play from them.
Yeah, great bit of resilience coming in from Reckoning Esports as well. They saw the opportunity to maybe come back into the game, and they definitely have. Getting a level 13 Blastoise is no easy feat, and having that happen is going to be great. That gives them a bonus Regieleki as well, seeing that True Rippers are now just looking to get some sort of XP going on from those top path and DDs that you talked about, having that top pad broken. But Hooper making a huge macro play, getting 11 at the bottom as well, setting up this pad for a massive overdunk if it happens to get that Rayquaza as well. But this Regieleki obviously providing not too much pressure. It's just kind of a tiny distraction for about a few seconds. While Hooper maybe a little bit caught out here. Lapras coming in to help, but we do have the portal, like we said. Hyperspace Hold not actually going to take it, but it does get its safety to get away there. 20 seconds until the Rayquaza fight out. Looking at the levels, we have 13... 3 13s apiece on both of the teams, with a level 14 Ceruledge on the side of True Rippers.
That's going to be nasty coming into this fight. We see the Ceruledge in that bottom lane. They're coming on up to try and get a flank. Of course, they have that Revenant Rend. We're going to have to get a reset on the Lapras, getting a lot of damage put onto it there, but they've got to be cautious. Reckoning Esports have a great set of Rip. They've got a great set of Secure as well. Lapras is going to say choo-choo, pop out that Express, and they're going to try and go for the flank here. And we're going to see Ceruledge try and pop off their Revenant Rend at the same time, buddy. What a combo of Unite moves that was. Umbreon does use their own, though, just to try and protect anything coming from the side of Reckoning Esports. They take down the Blaziken. That is a huge set of secure to no longer have. The rings have been let loose. They've got that CC and damage to come on in. They're going to pick up the Blastoise as well. It's True Rippers that are cleaning on up, but instead the Reckoning Esports do take down that Cerulege. And what a huge set coming in from that Mew and Hooper. It's an ace for True Rippers. They've taken out Reckoning Esports, cleanly take this big green dragon, buddy, and they're going to be able to lock in their lead even more, with that Hundo Burger being an easy lock-in in that T1.
Yeah, what a turn of events, that Hooper breaking the ankles of the Blaziken there, and then making sure that Mew has access to use its abilities to take down the last two members of them as well. I didn't even realize what Team White, because it seemed like to be quite a close fight there, but something I do want to note is the Blaze Kick from the Blaziken actually pushed a lot of members of True Rippers outside of the Hydro Typhoon from the Blastoise. So I don't know whether they got that was intentional or whether they had some other idea in mind, but it definitely reduced the damage that Reckoning actually was able to impart onto the enemy team, and maybe that made a difference in that fight there. Regardless, though, you did say 100 bases did rain down for True Rippers, and they now are ahead by 200 points. They got 30 seconds remaining for Reckoning to make a difference there. We do have 90 to go through, though, but it gets matched with 100 from the Chab, and more spears are going to be raining down. The Lapras Express will go through once again, picking up as many points as possible. But, I mean, there's 200 points differing between these two teams. There's a lot of scores has to go through, and with 10 seconds remaining, I'm not sure whether they can actually do this, Tano.
No, I don't think they can either, buddy. And I've got to say, I love the decision by True Rippers to let them take that T2, because they knew Machamp was going to get that Hundo dunk in, so they weren't worried about that at all. Then they can go back to the home pad and just defend that a lot easier than you could on a T2. I love that decision from True Rippers. Really great team synergy from them, and it just shows how they've managed to win that game doing just that, buddy. Really well played by both teams. True Rippers, though, are going to take this first game, the losers bracket, round 1.
Yeah, I mean, what a start to the loser bracket tonight, indeed, and I think it's all about that trust, right? That understanding of, you don't really have to risk too much if you know something like a Machamp is going to be able to get that score in. By looking at the KOs, what amount of assists that Noxie has done on the Hooper, though. 29 kill participation is a little bit incredible, and that's exactly what you just want to see from something like a support player there. But Bora on the Cerulege is just, shining from the get-go. Obviously here we can see a huge pick by the Wartortle, but ever since then, all his Unite move hit, right? All of them connect, deal some massive damage for their team as well. And they demonstrated you don't really need to go the Phantom Force to keep sustaining the fight if you have something like your Hooper always resetting you back to the home pad for the much needed heals as well. But what an exciting start to tonight's losers bracket here.
Yeah, I got a huge shout out to Cerulege running that build. My favorite build to run on Cerulege is that the Psycho Cut and the Flame Charge, as you mentioned too. Yeah, I love running that. It's my favorite build to run on the Cerulege. So huge shout out to these players picking up some different build sets. Of course, the Lapras doing the same as well. It's really exciting to see that come into game, see how that plays coming up against the competition. And I really enjoy casting it as well. So really good play by these teams. True Rippers coming out on top. I believe this losers bracket is a best of 3, buddy. So we're still going to go into this next game, and True Rippers just need to lock in to take it away. Whereas we need to see RGE put up a huge fight to be able to take this game to a game 3.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, I'm still wondering about whether the Lapras was just a misclick on the Water Pulse, and that's why they went Bubble Beam. Because from my understanding, just Parasong would have worked so much better there, especially having something like a Blaziken, Umbreon, and a Blastoise needing to be so close to you, right? That's exactly what you want from something like a Lapras. Because if they get close to you, you Ice Beam all of them, they're stunned, you pop your 3 Parasongs, and if anyone is in execute range, you do a whole lot of damage, and you can take out a lot of the tank that is afforded by your Reckoning Esports there. But it doesn't matter at the end of the day. They did win that game number 1, right? And that's exactly what they came out to do. I'm keen to see whether Reckoning actually adapts to this, because I don't think they played too bad, honestly, at the end of the day. But, it's all about the Rayquaza fight, isn't it? The last 2 minutes is what all these teams are vying for. The 8 minutes is like your preparation time, right? But it is definitely crunch time when Rayquaza spawns.
Yeah, it's very rare that a team is so far ahead that they don't need to worry that much about Rayquaza. It's very few times that we see that. So you're 100% right, Phil. It all comes down to those final 2 minutes of the game, unfortunately, and you've just got to prepare for it. And it was really good to see True Rippers doing just that. They had a fantastic team fight. And I do notice, of course, as you mentioned, that Blaziken kicking them out of the way of the Hydro Typhoon may have really tilted that battle, unfortunately, away from Reckoning. And, you know, this is it. When you are in those battles, it's so intense. It happens so quickly. Like, it's difficult enough to cast it, never mind play it. So it is one of those situations where it's all going so quick that just in the blink of an eye, there could just be a misplay like that that comes on in. Because Hydro Typhoon is such an important Unite move at Rayquaza. Just that stun that it can hop on nearly everyone. It does a decent amount of damage as well. Look at the way that they changed that Cerulege Unite alongside that Lapras Unite there, Fu. That kind of synergy is what wins team fights.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that point as well. And it's probably the reason why Cerulege is going to be banned out immediately by True Rippers. They dealt the damage, but they don't want to go up against it for sure. And another Pokemon that we've seen banned a lot of the times is going to be that Miraidon from Reckoning Esports as well. I do presume something like a Leafeon maybe with the second ban there, but they are going to be switching sides here. So we're going to have Doxy choosing it in their first Pokemon in a little bit. But Mimikyu, not surprising, another Pokemon that's been banned a lot tonight.
Yeah, I feel like Mimikyu is in a decent set in the meta. It's quite difficult for teams to handle it because it can have such a good early game. And you just get that jungle rotation, get that level 5 early enough, and then Mimikyu can really start to cook. So I understand trying to take that one out of the game. Glaceon, though, we've seen loads of that today already, Fu, and it is becoming back into the meta. I think we all had enough of the whole Glaceon, Mr. Mime, Mew meta, but Glaceon is on the rise yet again, but they don't want to handle it over on the side of True Rippers. They're going to take the Leafeon, though, and what great pressure that can bring into the early game. If you can only pick one Mon on this first side, on purple, Leafeon's a great decision to go for.
Yeah. Surprised, Tana, that's not going to be that Umbreon, and that means that, you know, Reckoning can actually pick out Umbreon Blissey, and that's exactly what has been happening here. So someone hire me to be a fortune teller, maybe I can make a little bit of money and potentially, you know, go to Worlds next year. But we do have to say that that's an incredible start to Reckoning's draft, and yet again, you know, it doesn't give away too much. It allows for the flex of your Pokemon, whether you want to play that Umbreon in that top path or not. Obviously, the Blissey is your traditional top path support there. Pikachu now picking out from Kale, another attacker, it seems. And not having a Mimikyu in the game just means Bora gets to really dance around on this Leafeon. And exactly what you said before, the ability to come online so early, it has that ability to either invade the enemy's team straight away or just get one buff and gank that top path and just, you know, suppress any of the all-rounders that are trying to scale up in that area there. Speaking of top laners, though, another great pick by Nightmare is going to be that Zacian, and that could be coupled on Stray from with that A9, which Alone Ninetales is coming back in with the recent buffs as well. So a lot of new Pokemons now picked up by Reckoning here.
Yeah, I actually love the decision to pick up the A9. It is really getting quite to the top of the meta at the moment just because of how good the CC damage really is. You've got a lot of all-rounders coming your way through. You've got a lot of speedsters coming your way in these games. Having that A9 that can just drop a massive amount of CC and does quite a considerable amount of damage for it is a great decision coming in from Reckoning. I like that. That Zacian in the top lane paired with a Blissey is going to be fantastic for them. But Mamoswine Shifu picked up by True Rippers, two really good selections. I'm surprised Mamoswine's gone all the way down to the bottom of the pick, really. But Dragonite is coming out over on the side of Reckoning Esports too. I suspect we're going to see a Hyper Beam. That's usually what we see from that Dragonite, and you do need that huge secure. You pair that with that Zacian, you've actually got a really good rip comp over there.
Yeah. Great duo to go up against something like a Wicked Blow or Shifu. So it's because looking at the build there with the eject move, it's going to be no question that Bora is going to select that single strike Urshifu there. And you know, it's okay to actually play single strike Urshifu because you have the Leafeon to really just have that early game pressure, right? Pikachu also doesn't need too much, and Dope on the Mamoswine. We've seen how effective Swine Up and Piloswine is. So I really like on paper the draft that True Rippers have now brought into it. But I don't think Reckoning has such a bad draft either. This is setting up to be an insane 5v5 match here, and it's all going to be about how they can play that ending 2 minutes there, because from the early game, we have Pokemons on both teams having the effect to put pressure on straight from the get-go here. So whether Dragonite comes online early or the single strike Urshifu will get its level 9 Unite move, I mean, that's just going to be a sight to see here. But we're going to head on into game number 2, right? We have True Rippers up 1 game here, but you know, anything can change. We might be able to get sent to a game 3 scenario, Tano, if the teams play it right here.
Hey, this is Pokemon Unite. Anything can happen in Pokemon Unite, but I'm really surprised that the Kudzu's not taking the jungle. Oh, they are! So they're gonna give some that Xatu over to the side to the Leafeon, try and get that Evo early, and look at that! We're at 940 and Leafeon is here. Kudzu's gonna take the rest of that jungle to hit that level 5, and this is gonna be so good from True Rippers because they need to stop that Zacian from hitting level 5 in that top lane, and look at that!
Gosh.
That's gonna come in, take down that Chansey. What a fantastic decision from True Rippers. I love that there.
Yeah, and that's a clear that we saw a lot in the last season, having the ability to get that Urshifu online by your 850 mark, but also have something like a Leafeon come online with its level 4. And what damage did it do in the top path already, right? Chance of getting knocked out was just so dire for the Zacian, because it needs that level 5 as well. Meanwhile, we do have 23 on the Dragonair, now waiting for this 850 birds here. Not going to be doing a whole lot, but it does have that stun every boosted, so probably going to be looking at that as we head into a 3v2 scenario. True Ripper looking to really, I guess, help out in the bottom path there, having that Urshifu rotate down. But we do have Chansey evolving to a Blissey, and maybe this is the time to support a siege in the top part there. But Zacian actually goes down to the Leafeon, and that is not good news for 23, as it has to quickly head away, not able to save this Blissey. That's probably going to be running for its life. Poem going down, and Dragonair might be caught out in a bad position too. Not a lot of HP available, as the Urshifu is going to come up as well, putting in more pressure on the pad there. Zacian managed to come back and baits out the eject though, so what great timing though from Nightmare. If not, things could look really, really bad in that top path.
Yeah, I gotta say, the power seemed to be more on the side of Reckoning there, but a Leafeon Eldegoss is such a scary threat, no matter what's in that top lane, buddy. It has worked so well for True Rippers. We're gonna see Umbreon Zacian put the pressure onto that T1 pad whilst these mid-birds are spawned. We do have Pikachu and Eldegoss there. A9 is coming, they've got the Dragonair to provide assistance, but Shifu has come up to the top lane, and they send that Sword Doggo back to the Pokemon Center. They're gonna hop onto the Umbreon. They have to use the eject button just to get out of sight of that Shifu. A very scary sight coming your way, and we've still got an engage in this top lane. They take down the Dragonair. Leafeon Pikachu providing the assistance there. Umbreon takes a trip to the Pokemon Center as well, buddy, and it is just True Rippers cleaning up KOs left, right, and center right now.
Yeah, I mean, they really got this Urshifu up and going, and Zacian obviously still looking for that level 9 to really combat a lot of the damage coming out from Urshifu as well. We do have the 720 birds coming out. The A9 will be level 7 though, so he has access to all its combos. But look at this, the Umbreon getting a cheeky stack, knowing that he can get out of this scenario, delaying True Rippers from any of the farms in that bird that spawned just before. But we do have Dragonite now though, so having access to Hyper Beam means that they have the choice to rip this basement Reggie. It's going to be a Reggie Rock there, and with the Chansey, or Blissey rather, just zoning out the team. It is playing that defender role as the beam will go through successfully. Finally able to go through, but the two-step will punish people from staying from too long, getting a KO streak on the Blissey and also the other members of that team. And they're going to continue pushing here. Zacian coming in just in time though. No, the Leafeon will be able to get a stack and maybe get out of that situation. Hyper Beam stun perhaps. Yes, Zacian coming in to save the day, getting KO streak of 2 and maybe more, as the Umbreon will look to cover in and help that trade go through. KO streak of 3. It doesn't stop for Reckoning here. They might have won that Reggie Rock, but they have definitely won a whole lot more, with A9 helping out the Dragonite to break with a 39 as well. I mean, what a turnaround though, Tano, for this little fight they've had in the bottom part there. 94 to 54 now.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing the power spike go more towards the side of Reckoning now. They've got that Dragonite Hyper Beam online. Zacian's got access to their Unite move. We're seeing a huge difference in these spikes, and it seems like Reckoning are really getting themselves back into this battle, buddy. A9 zoning is fantastic. They take down that Lecky with yet again that Hyper Beam Dragonite, and it seems like True Rippers can't quite do anything to answer just yet. There's the Sacred Sword. It takes down that Pikachu, and without that Unite move in, you're going to be able to clean up the rest. Goodbye, Shifu. Dragonite being too much of damage for that to handle. Umbreon and Zacian with some great zoning. They're going to take down this T1 as well. Reckoning Esports are really beginning to take control of this game.
Yeah, the snowball has started rolling down the hill, but here comes the Emerald two-step though to quickly delete a few Pokemon. The Evans Fist will delete Zacian as well, getting sent back to the Pokemon Center in mid-air there as it ejects for more. It looks like taking down another one. The Alona Ninetales going back, and I don't think the action stops here, ladies and gentlemen, as the Cotton Spore will go to try to stun out